Urban Dictionary.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
This must be a joke. I'm going to preface this by saying I believe this is very likely to be a joke.
Okay. Satire.
I
hope
can't
it
tell
is.
anymore.
Yeah, I hope it is also.
So, do you know what Urban Dictionary is?
Yeah.
Do you wanna?
Sure. I mean, it's when you hear a word that some youngins using, some savvy, person that is using the new slang, and you have no idea what it means. You can check out Urban Dictionary, and it'll explain it to you, and it's great.
User generated.
Yeah, it's great actually. I love it. Everyone I know has used it.
Can you check if
it's awesome?
Florbo is in the Urban Dictionary?
I will check. Let me look that up right
Florbo.
now.
It should be.
Yeah, it sure should be.
Somebody messaged me that we had to change the spelling to Fleabeux.
Oh my god!
Sorry.
Yeah, good
Why?
call.
Florbo.
Florbo.
Yes.
Is that
it
French?
It's in there.
Boom.
Is
Yep,
that
okay,
French
wait.
for you? Did that?
I did not do
did.
that.
I think you did.
You created Florbo.
Oh yeah.
And
As a
therefore
soft.
Right, but all you did was just come up with Florbo.
Let me read the
so
definition.
by you doing
is
that,
it?
you did that.
What is the definition?
Yeah. Okay, so Florbo is a proper name to be used in place of a pronoun. Here are some examples. Sam identifies as non-binary with the pronouns they, them. Sam, I am offended by the use of gendered language. John, oh great, Florbo is offended again. I wish that Florbo would just shut up already. So I'm assuming they're referring to Sam Smith, who was the topic of conversation when we were talking about Florbos.
There's a better example of that, though. So the two examples for what Florbo is, for those that don't understand, would be someone says, I am gender non-binary and use they, them pronouns. Mr. Shapiro says, I am not a fan and I would prefer not to use language that I don't recognize the ideology, behind. However, in agreement to not offend either party, the debate moderator says, I will refer to you both as Florbo.
Yep.
That way, no one has to use a word the other side is trying to make them use. And the Florbo was meant to inspire image of like Kirby or like a fluffy marshmallow man, Florbo or something like that. I think like, Flubber was probably like an inspiration.
Sure.
It's like what I was thinking of, like a little jelly jiggly man who's happy and fun.
And bouncy.
And it was supposed to be kind of a not, kind of just like a, no one's really going to be mad about it. I don't know. So that was the idea. And Urban Dictionary ended up getting an entry for it. And many people started using the word. The general idea is if you don't know what someone identifies as, instead of getting into a position where they say, actually, my pronouns are, you say Florbo. And if they say my pronouns are whatever, that's fine, Florbo. Mm-hmm. Florbo is a word that's not part of any whatever. And we can have it was supposed to be like, there's no way to win an argument when there's no fence to sit on, so I made that fence.
That's right,
I hammered those fence posts in, and I said, Florbo is the middle. So saith I.
Good for you.
And it works.
Okay, well, anyway.
It got into Urban Dictionary.
Urban Dictionary has thrown the towel.
Oh, no.
You ready? I'm going to preface this by saying this may be a joke because Urban Dictionary is like as offensive as they come. Mm-hmm. But this got published to Facebook. They wrote, 20 years ago, Urban Dictionary started as a place for everyone to share their language. It was intended to subvert the authority of the traditional dictionary and to document our messy, weird, and unpredictable language as it evolved. Every day, regular people add thousands of definitions, making it a living cultural document. Since 1999, our community has written over 12 million definitions. We are proud that Urban Dictionary has become a source of laughter and an irreplaceable reference made by and for the people. But over the years, online discourse has changed, and so have the words we're receiving. Like other online platforms, we've been inundated by hate speech and abusive content targeting women, BIPOC, is that BIPOC?
BIPOC?
BIPOC.
I think.
And LGBTQIA+, and other vulnerable groups. Hate speech and abusive content online can cause real harm offline. It can also make people feel unsafe to speak up and share their language, silencing entire groups of people. This is not what we want for our platform to be for. I'm going to pause right there and say, therefore, we're going to be silencing large groups of people. Ha ha ha. Anyway, they go on. Urban Dictionary plays an important role in defining language on the internet and popular culture. To do this right and to earn the role you've entrusted us with, we need to make sure our system measures up to our values. The site has always been a place for people who define the messier edges of language, but we can't allow to foster hate. Words matter. It's kind of our whole thing here, but actions matter more. So now we have bullet points. We will not allow Urban Dictionary to be a home for hate speech and abusive content. We support the work of Black Lives Matter to dismantle systemic racism. We accept our own responsibility to fight racism and hate and acknowledge that we have failed to keep abusive content off the site. We take this work seriously, and it is our priority. We are reviewing our core processes on how words are added, reviewed, published, and removed. We are investing in technology and human review to better enforce our standards. We'll post updates on our progress here. We will change as hate speech changes. No single fix will work forever. Hate speech and abusive content will evolve, and we are committed to changing our policies to meet it. As we rethink the dictionary, we want to hear from you. Urban Dictionary is written by you, and we want you to be involved while we decide what is and isn't acceptable on it. Please share your thoughts in the form here, and there's a link. In a few weeks, we'll share what we've learned from your feedback.
I got one thing to say here. Reform 230.
Boom.
Reform 230. And this, which is very clearly not a joke.
Yeah.
That's not a joke.
I know. I just have to say that because Urban Dictionary is probably one of the most offensive websites that exists, especially for a mainstream website.
Yeah.
Like, you can type in any racial slur and get some of the most ridiculously racist and offensive posts. The whole thing.
Yep.
There are words used in slang in the real world and online that are racist. Is Urban Dictionary going to start banning them?
Yeah. Racism exists. You know, it exists. No one says it doesn't exist.
People are just going to make up new words, man. You know, there was a period where, I don't know exactly the full details, but there were certain groups of people that started using, they replaced racial slurs with words like Facebook, Skype, and Twitter. And so they would say things like, you know, those Facebooks were doing this or whatever. And the gag was that if they use the word to represent a racial slur, eventually, like, they can't do anything about it because the platforms can't ban their own name. Even if they decided to ban certain...
Sneaky.
So it's a guaranteed win. That was the idea, because a bunch of articles got written about it saying like racists are using the names of major brands as racial slurs. What's Facebook going to do? In certain contexts, our name is a bannable offense. They can't do that. It's their brand.
That's a good point.
They can't use a robot to do that. So how do you actually stop people from doing it? They couldn't, and so people did.
That's a really good idea, Tim.
No, it's not a good idea. I'm saying it's something that happened and eventually died out. Nobody cared anymore.
Right.
But
because most people aren't racists.
Right. And there was no big movement because nobody, I think the issue with that idea is a lot of these people probably thought it would become a trend until you realize most people aren't racist and didn't want to use that language.
Yeah. Most people just don't like people who suck.
Yeah.
Stop being
fair.
mean to my friends. You know what I mean? You can make jokes and stuff, but this is it. Urban Dictionary is supposed to be about jokes. Not anymore. What is Urban Dictionary now? You're going to be like, I'm going to make up a word called like morbiff. Morbiff. And it's when you accidentally drop a marshmallow in the campfire. Whoa. It's like we're becoming moral. It really is becoming that jokey Flanders family.
Yeah.
You know? Wow, man. Isn't that crazy? Think about Ned Flanders and his kids, Rod and Todd, and how they're like, he goes, okay, kids, it's 7:00, time for bed. And they go, yay. And they run into bed and then shut the blinds. Like, there's all these weird moments in The Simpsons where they're celebrating really awful things. So then there's like one where Ned's like, who wants nachos? And they're like, oh. And then Bart and Lisa run in and he goes, Flanders style, that's cucumbers and cottage cheese. So that's what's happening.
Yep.
This is what we're going to get. I'll tell you why.
Equilibrium.
Our dictionary is changing. Our Urban Dictionary is changing. The Libertarian Party is endorsing it. Here's you know the thing about the Libertarian Party endorsing this is that's the most, I think, insidious.
What?
They endorsed it without even knowing what it was.
True.
And that means a lot of people will. And once these ideas enter, it's the Trojan horse. The Libertarian Party says, yeah, opposing racism is a good thing, endorses it outright. Then everyone sees it as normal, and then the people who run these organizations say, here's what it means, here's what you got to do now. So for those that aren't familiar, the definition of racism has changed in the actual dictionary. They created a circular definition. Racism is 1, a belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. 2, a doctrine or political program based on the assumption of racism and designed to execute its principles. 2b, a political or social system founded on racism. 3, racial prejudice or discrimination. Now, the problem with this, and for you, many of you may have heard this already, but I'm just giving you context because I got another definition to show you. Basically, what they did, because of political pressure, is they included systemic racism in the definition of racism under the word racism. What they're describing in these definitions is systemic racism, not regular, like not the word racism. This creates a circular definition because they use the word in the definition of itself.
Right.
Which means you create a recursive loop. So the dictionary would read, a political or social system founded on, a political or social system founded on, a political or, and it would never end. It would just be an endless recursion.
Right.
Because they define the word by itself. Now, you could argue you can use the first definition to define the second definition, but that makes literally no sense. And now, I bring you the best part about the change to our dictionary. This is Merriam-Webster. Since 1828, this stuff is here. It's here to stay. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the word homosexuality. Now sometimes offensive. See usage paragraph below. 2. Now sometimes offensive. See usage paragraph below. And the usage paragraph below does not explain anything. They're just literally saying the word itself is offensive.
So they don't even explain what it means?
They don't explain why it's offensive at all.
But go back up, though.
Oh, no, yeah.
Where's the definition? Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Sexual or romantic attraction to others of one's same sex, the quality or state of being gay. 2 is sexual activity with another of the same sex, but those are both considered to be offensive in certain contexts. So they included that this word is offensive, and you need to understand the context.
Trigger warning.
So now,
Yeah.
see, this is what I've been talking about. They're making it offensive by telling everyone it's offensive. Now it's like now they're teaching that it is offensive, that it is a thing, that racism is a thing, that most people are racist. That I'm obviously expanding on the idea, but it's the same. They're just trying to convince everybody now that it's not.
They're changing.
There's nothing wrong with
man,
homosexuality. Like, some people are okay. That's fine. Who's offended by it? Why would they be offended by it?
Well, this was actually brought to my attention by Ariel Scarcella.
Okay.
Who
was
herself
was she offended by it?
No, she was confused by it.
Right.
And she was like, I don't get it.
Right. she's smart, articulate, and
and she's a lesbian.
Yeah, and it's like, okay.
I defer to her.
I do
better
too.
than I do.
Yeah. She speaks out a lot about this kind of stuff. And it makes no sense.
You know the George Orwell quote?
Which one?
Records were falsified, street names were changed, history was erased, yada yada.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all literally happening right now.
Exactly.
The 1619 project has begun to rewrite and erase our history. They started under that same pretext, painting our streets, renaming our streets. A street in each of the 5 boroughs in New York has been renamed. In D.C., I think Chicago did the same thing. They're charging people with hate crimes. They're actually investigating. You probably saw this.
Yeah.
The car that drove over the crosswalk.
They arrested somebody for it.
Are you sure they arrested him?
I read that they actually arrested someone for it. I don't know if it's the right person, but it's crazy that you can rip down statues of people.
Oh yeah.
American.
No investigation.
Founders. Well, there is now because of Trump's
right.
executive order, but it's, they have video footage of the person, peeling out over the Rainbow Street, and it's a hate crime. It's like
they weren't peeling out.
They weren't.
No. There's no evidence to suggest that.
Right.
So there was a crosswalk, and this is in Canada, mind you. I think it was Canada, right?
Yeah, it was.
Vancouver.
And the crosswalk was painted because it's got 2 white lines. It was a rainbow in between. There was a tread mark across it because a car turned. Mm-hmm. It wasn't peeling out.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't even going very fast.
Sometimes you leave tire marks.
That's true.
Maybe they were driving and he did a hard turn. It was an accident. I have no idea.
It actually happens naturally.
They're actually
offensive.
They're actually looking for this person. They're investigating and may have arrested them for driving a car on the road.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah, man.
Well, like the couple that went out and painted over the B and the L.
Right.
I think
hate crime.
I think they were trying to change it to All Lives Matter. Maybe.
I think they were just painting over it. In Chicago, they painted over the BLCK, so the A was still there, and then they drew 2 white L's, so it said All Lives Matter. All Lives Matter.
And now in New York, they're writing Black Lives Matter in front of the Trump building. So I saw this. Well, I've known that it was going on, but on Facebook, there's this meme that's going around. They're like, "Yeah, take that, Trump," and I'm like, "Do you know how much he's done for the minority community? If you don't know, you haven't been paying attention, and it's embarrassing." Trump. And that's all I said to them.
I would be willing to bet a very large sum of money that if we could develop a machine to read Trump's mind, he cares not at all
About that. about
right.
them painting in front of the. Yeah, no, he
He
doesn't.
tweeted about it,
Uh-huh.
saying it was a hate message, but I think the full context of the tweet was that you've got crime skyrocketing in New York, and this is what they do.
Right. This is where they're putting their money, basically. It's
So,
like
but
people
here,
are getting killed every day.
they roll with it like they said. Everyone started posting like, Trump's all angry, haha, we got him, and Trump's probably like, hey, they think I'm mad about this.
Yeah.
He loves keeping them. So Trump recently tweeted something like less than he said 1/100th of something.
Yeah.
That made no sense, and everybody started making fun of him for it. He tweeted another typo, and I'm like,
He's doing it
they
on
don't
purpose.
learn. It's not even if he does it on purpose.
Yeah.
It's that whenever he puts a typo, actually, let me put it this way. Sometimes in my YouTube videos, there will be a typo that I'll miss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it on purpose. But sometimes, a few hours later, I'll see it and I'll laugh and leave it. You know
Yeah.
why?
Why?
Because when people see the typo in the headline,
Mm-hmm.
they go into the video to make sure they can comment and say, I saw the typo.
That's true.
So I don't do it on purpose. But Trump probably tweets out, and then an hour later sees his phone blowing up, and then he sees the typo, and he laughs and leaves it because it's distracting everybody.
That's true.
Although I will say, in Trump's case, I think he does it sometimes on purpose.
Yeah, I think so too.
The famous story was that he tweeted about the squad going back to their home countries, and at the same time, he was ending like refugee and asylum rules that were like pretty, it was a bold move.
Okay.
And the news cycle did not care. They were like, how dare Trump tweet this? And then, of course, AOC and Ilhan Omar were like, how dare Trump? He is such a bigot. Meanwhile, I saw some journalists going like, isn't this story like this one way bigger? Trump just signed this order. Nobody cared.
Emotions.
Yeah.
Yep.
This
No. And not just emotions. It's ignorant people with platforms.
So this is what worries me, man.
Yep.
What Section 230 reform,
Absolutely.
that will change everything.
It needs to happen. The more we talk about it, the more I look into it. It's free speech online needs to be protected. People need to grow a backbone and not care. Worry about yourself.
So this
People need to worry about themselves way more than what other people are doing. Where did that go?
So here's the challenge. I do think it's fair to say this will be the most important elections of our lives.
Yep.
Right now.
Absolutely.
Not because I think this cause is more important than, say, the Iraq War or, universal health care. That was Obama's, one of his big things.
Mm-hmm.
Because it will fundamentally change the fabric of our country and the world if we do not reform Section 230 to protect legal speech.
Yep.
Right now, the biggest platforms and their partners in media control all cultural institutions, which means politics cannot exist unless the cultural gatekeepers allow it to.
Yep.
If you want to say something like this, I believe we should have a flat tax. Well, guess what? They could ban you for saying it and you can't do anything about it. And then you have quite literally no politicians advocating for a flat tax. So who is going to run on that position? Nobody.
Right.
No one will care. That idea will be gone. Here's the bigger problem. This may be the most important election of our lives. And even if the Republicans win, there is no guarantee they actually do it. They would have to sweep the Congress and the presidency, gain control. Would they even do it? They had control in 2016. They didn't do it. Now, I think it's fair to say you had what people call rhinos, Republican in name only.
Right.
You had a lot of people who retired, who had no interest. They were establishment players in the Republican Party, did not want to, do anything.
Probably got paid to not do anything.
Yeah, they were just keys to the castle politicians.
Yep.
But even now,
Most of them are right now.
what's, is it because we're deadlocked between the House and the Senate that we're not getting anything done? I honestly don't know. So you got to cross your fingers that come November, not only will you win, let's say the silent majority does exist and they're going to go out in November in massive numbers and prove it, but you also are hoping that the Republicans who get elected will actually do this.
I think it's a great idea.
It's been, look, it's not my idea. The DOJ put out the guidelines.
I know, I've seen it.
It's Bill Barr.
Yeah, I looked into it after that when we first talked about the other day.
Now, I'm not sure he goes far enough because he still says that they should have a good faith effort to remove certain content. That means they can still start banning certain people, but it would give you more legal protections, I suppose. And the other issue is that we've already seen them violate the Section 230. Twitter does it all the time.
Yeah, it's true.
Nothing happens. So it's not. So look, there's a lot of steps here. First, the Republicans would have to win. They'd have to put in Section 230 reform. Then someone would need a case. Something would happen where they would sue and challenge their protections. Then Twitter would precedent would be set, and Twitter would take action.
Yeah.
So Learn to Code is the best example. Under 230, they're allowed to remove some content, not all. It's got to be objectionable or like harassing or whatever. And people were tweeting things like Learn to Code, or a good example would be like James Lindsay. James Lindsay is one of the foremost experts on critical race theory and wokeness. And he just went on Rogan, gained a ton of followers. They suspended his account. They can still do those things even with 230 reform.
Sorry, I got to ask. Did you see the first thing he posted when he got back?
No, what was it?
It
Was it spicy?
Yeah. It was spicy. Talking about people. How do I say this without saying it?
Why? Because it's bad? You'll get banned?
I don't want to say it. I don't really want to. Well, it's
Very
It's
spicy.
a very specific subject. I don't want to talk about it. But go look at it. Read his
Conceptual
words.
James on
because it
Twitter.
makes a lot of sense what he's saying.
Yeah.
And it's scary, actually, also.
So here's the challenge. With Section 230 reform, they probably would not be able to ban him by mistake in that way.
It is the war on ignorance.
Yeah.
And also child ignorance.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yes.
If we specifically state in the Reform 230 that a good faith effort to remove illegal content, there will still be some mistakes, but that wouldn't be one of them, because there's no reason to believe and there's no good faith belief that he posted anything illegal.
Right.
In which case, these accidents would be few and far between.
No, I could see some people would find it offensive, but that's just the thing. It's some people can be offended. That's their right. You can be offended. Anyone can be offended, but that doesn't mean you're right. Thanks, Tom McDonald.
We need more than this, though, because right now another problem is that we have far left accounts overtly breaking the law with their posts.
That's right.
So I'm going to, I got to say it. There is one potential solution.
What's that?
The end of anonymity on the internet. That's it.
So kind of like why people are upset that Parler, you have to put in a number. And it's like, I kind of am down with that, because you can't, you're going to go get like 5 different numbers so that you can, because you have to actually,
They're trying to
check
prevent
it.
bots from manipulating.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
I have one person that's me. I don't want, I don't need another voice. I'm using my own voice. I'm happy with that. I'm not trying to influence, and make fake accounts to like bot it up. Like people do that.
Yeah.
So that is like Parler is actually, that's pretty legit.
So this would have to come after reform,
Mm-hmm.
after 230 reform. I'm not saying it's a good idea because there are serious pros and cons.
Right.
There are whistleblowers who can't speak up that use anonymity to protect themselves and call out, malfeasance.
That's a good point.
On the other hand, there are people who run 50 accounts to manipulate brands into banning people to push ideology.
Cancel culture.
Exactly. So a big solution to a lot of these problems is an end to anonymity on social media. Yeah. Facebook basically did it. Facebook said you have to use your real name from now on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was a while ago, several years ago.
Oh, okay.
There was a big controversy because some people use pseudonyms and some people are activists who face persecution in their home countries and they've fled. Yeah. And they're like, if I use my real name. So, and some people on Facebook don't use real photos of themselves. But the idea is if everyone has to stand up for what they're saying, then people would be a lot less inclined to be awful and nasty people.
And it wasn't illegal to just speak your mind.
Right.
Which is what the reform would do.
Well, you won't get banned for it.
Okay, right.
So
some things would still be illegal to do, like death threats and whatnot.
So if it's illegal, it's illegal.
Right.
So here's the pendulum, sort of like the problems and the waves they cause. If we reform 230, we solve one problem. People can now speak up and we can rebalance the political conversation. I'm not saying it would favor the extremes. It would not. It would favor the center and reinvigorate the center to come back and, for a debate. It would pull the left, it would force the left back to the center because the bigger conversation would be happening among more people. However, this could result in a massive flood of annoying, really annoying, racist tirades, brigading, sock puppetry, which can result in the platform becoming just a cesspool of chaos. This is one of the things that Twitter was concerned about. That the reason they decided to just take sides and ban one is that if they really did mass free speech, you end up with bots just spamming everybody all the time. And so they had to figure out how to deal with that. So if you have Section 230 reformed, protecting all legal speech, and you create a platform where you can't be anonymous, problem solved. There's still some problems you can argue, but then individuals can't run multiple accounts, and they have to stand behind every word they say. So will you get angry racist tirades that are really annoying? Yes, you will. But a lot of people do this to be contrarian.
That's true.
They do it because it's funny, it's fun, they want to troll. You will get rid of a lot of the trolls.
I think online trolls is like what started the Karen movement, because people were thinking that it was real, and then they ran with it, and then people started, the trolls were like, oh, it's working. All right, now I'm going to get more people, and then more people were getting offended, and then it snowballed into this, speaking of the snowplow parents, the kids grew up and were offended, and the trolls were eating them alive, and look where we're at,
I've seen these feminists retweet trolls on purpose. And it's because they like it.
Yeah.
It's a game to a lot of these people. I've seen some high-profile feminists go, I can't believe all the harassment I'm getting. Look, and they start retweeting them.
Yeah.
And then one person I know, and I said, don't you know that retweeting them is their goal? And then the response was, do you expect me to be silenced? I will not be silenced by them. And I'm like, oh, shut up. You know what you're doing. You're feeding the trolls on purpose because it gets positive attention for you. You can play the victim, and welcome to 2020. We are 36 years off, but I guess we finally made it here. The streets being renamed, records being falsified.
I was born in 84. What does it mean?
1984.
What does it mean? The year I was born.
Welcome to the resistance, brother. To all of you watching right now, it may be there is a silent majority. They may be lying in wait, ready to pounce onto that voter booth.
Yeah, they want to do it legally. They're law-abiding citizens.
Yes, but for now we can't make that assumption. We don't know how many people.
I'm making the assumption.
But all we can really do for now is determine one thing. If there ever was an actual resistance, this is it. Not them.
Yep.
Not them complaining about the orange man. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.